I want to welcome everybody here to Wow Cafe. We are very honored and privileged to be hosting the first Friday Night Football Hall of Fame induction class. And those of you from around here obviously know how important high school football is to the sports culture of New Orleans. Unfortunately, I played at Grace King. We didn't get a lot of coverage.
Coach made me cover all the Curtis games.
So, but I want to say that I think, and I've coached some high school football in North Carolina after I went to graduate school. I've been around high school football in Georgia as well when I was in graduate school there. And I have to say, Louisiana is very unique in how important high school sports, in particular football, are to our culture and to the development of our kids and our children and to the lessons that we learn as a culture here in the South. I have to tell you, Ed Daniels has done a great job of really promoting the great talent that we have here in the state of Louisiana. It is amazing that we have so many great talented athletes and kids in our state, and they get their first exposure through Friday Night Football. And so I can't tell you how important that is for their recruiting, for their development. As little kids growing up playing football at Girard Playground, we couldn't wait every Friday night to hear what was going on in the high school ranks. We had the coaches and the athletes that we knew were going off to Brother Martin and John Curtis. And I remember Curtis when they first had the first little fingers shimmel shirts. They had the little hands, how many titles they'd won in a row. And I remember, as a little kid, how do I get one of those? How do I get one of those? Friday Night Football helps to really instill that culture. And it's a culture that I think is unique in the state of Louisiana. And I think it's great that we're going to highlight that and have a place where people can come here, Wild Cafe, where we post these awards and we honor the people who have had such significant impact, not only in the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, but for the kids, the development of our kids. So, Ed, thank you for all you do, because I think you don't get enough credit for carrying the torch for high school football, and I think it's a huge benefit that this community gets.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, first of all, it was really interesting to start a show like Friday Night Football when I was 19. So this is in our 22nd year. Of course, JT's a lot older than me, so I kind of get him along and get him to work every Friday. But we've got a great group here, and one of the cool things about this Hall of Fame is that when we presented it to the Ballard family and the folks at WOW, they immediately embraced it, and they wanted to do it, and I think that's real important. And it's something that's not just a sponsorship. It's something that we hope lasts a long time, that we can develop some kind of legacy with it. I think we've already done that, and I hope that we can continue to do that in the future. I'd like to recognize a lot of the folks here today. One of our honorees, Mr. Al Ragas from Old Perry Walker, his mom, Mr. Williams from Old Perry Walker, and head coach Emmanuel Powell, who played defensive back at some point. Coach, I need some pictures of that. If you can, we'll show them on the show one night if you want us to do that. Nelson Stewart from Isidore Newman School, who is here representing the school and accepting for the Mannings. Coach Jack Salter is in the back from Covington High School. His son is here, and his grandson Greg, who played for Coach Salter, is here as well. Coach Robichaux from Destrehan, Steve Robichaux, his wife Tammy are here to represent Ed Reed and the folks at Destrehan. And of course, Leslie, Coach Conlin's daughter, and her son Robert and her husband are here today to represent the Conlin family. So the one thing that I think is important is that we have a lot of great athletes and coaches throughout the years and a lot of great contributors like Al. But I think it's important to remember that long before a guy like Ed Reed was a star in the Super Bowl, and Peyton Manning was a star in the Super Bowl, and all our coaches like Coach Salter and Coach Conlin, they had a start, they had a beginning. And it was an accumulation of a lot of great things over the years that made that happen. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to recognize all of our Hall of Famers. It's something we hope to continue for a long time. And I'd like to thank our staff at WGNO TV, who have been such big supporters of our show. Our general manager, John Cruz, who works us to death with no end in sight. John, always good to have you here. Rocky Daigle, one of our sales folks, and Ryan Ray, who is handling the WOW account and does such a great job. He told me to say that, so that was a mandatory. But again, my thanks to the folks at WOW, because when we presented this to the Ballard family, they immediately bought in, decided we were going to do this. Not only are our Hall of Famers during the season recognized with a video piece on Friday Night Football, but they also get plaques. And also plaques will be displayed here in the restaurant. So when someone comes in here to visit this fine establishment, they're going to realize that there is a real high school football history that is associated with WOW and with Friday Night Football and with WGNO TV. So before we hand out the plaques, I wanted to turn to my co-host, Mr. Curtis, to say a few words, and he knows all these folks, played against a bunch of them. And JT's going to make a few remarks.
Ed actually was 39 when we started, and I was a little over 20. But I tell you, it has been a great journey for us these 22 years. The support at the station for this program, for how it has highlighted the athletes in our community, and for us to be able to recognize the greats that we are today is really a privilege for us. As you said, Ed, I've had the opportunity to play against Bobby Conlin, and the opportunity to compete against the Old Prairie Walkers. I've had the opportunity to compete against the great players that have come through this city, and to recognize them in a special way is really important, I think, not only for us, but for the young people to set an example. And having the opportunity to work with Jack Salter and compete against him and lose to him at the Cow Palace was a lasting memory in my life. But also the opportunity to work with him in the high school all-star game and watch him coach and watch him interact with the young people. It's no secret to why he was successful at Covington for the years that he was. But again, just to echo what Ed has said, thank the Ballard family. I go back a long way with that family, and we just really appreciate your support in recognizing these players and these coaches. And as importantly, we look forward to many, many years and lining these walls with the greats that have come out of our city. So Ed, thank you. Thank you guys for your participation, and we look forward to many, many more years of this same kind of activity.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Okay, let's make our presentations. Our first presentation is going to be to Jack Salter. 256 wins as the head coach of the Covington Lions, won the 4A state championship in 1976 with a perfect 15-0 record. He also led 3 more teams to the state finals and won 15 district titles. He was named the High School National Coach of the Year in 1981, and Covington High School's football stadium carries his name, and he is truly a legend, not only on the North Shore, but in the entire state of Louisiana, as one of our greatest coaches of all time, and we're delighted that he is a member of our inaugural WOW Cafe and Wingery Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, from Covington High School, Coach Jack Salter. Thank you. Thank you. Want to take a little photo? Coach, why don't you come in with us? Come on, Steve. Come on. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. Okay. Our next honoree is going to be inducted posthumously. We all miss him. He was not only one of the greatest coaches in our area, but a great person as well. And I'm personally delighted that his daughter and her family are here today to accept this honor in his behalf. And I think if you have any Hall of Fame in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the metro area, it has to include this gentleman. Bob Conlin, Brother Martin High School class, or De La Salle class of 1956 from Brother Martin High School, head coach of the Crusaders, won 204 games, including the 1971 Class 4A state championship. Also coached Brother Martin to the 1989 4A finals. His team made 14 playoff appearances. That a tremendous feat, as we remember a long time ago when there was a limited amount of teams that made the playoffs. A lot of great teams stayed home. Bob Conlin, the gym at Brother Martin carries his name, and I can't think of anyone at Brother Martin who is more well known than not only for his victories, but the unbelievable job he did throughout the years of mentoring young men. And we are delighted that his daughter Leslie is here to receive his plaque today. Bob Conlin, his daughter Leslie, and her family. And Robert, we're going to give the plaque to Robert, his grandson. Let's take a picture. Come on, Steve. Thank you. Nice to see you, man. Great. Thank you. Our next honoree from Old Perry Walker, class of 1985. He is our contributor this year. And one of the things that we thought when we did the Hall of Fame, one of the most important things we were going to do is we were going to honor people who contribute to their programs each and every year who get no recognition. And this gentleman has done an unbelievable job as the video man statistician for Old Perry Walker football for 30 years. Coach Emmanuel Powell told me that Al Ragas is our historian. A true Charger, when he evacuated for Hurricane Katrina, he took his prized possessions with him, among them countless binders of box scores, stories, and TV news clips of Old Perry Walker. He even had one of me when I had no gray hair, and that was a long time ago. I was appalled when he had it, but he saves everything. And he's done an unbelievable job chronicling the history of a great football program. As we know, Old Perry Walker, they had two of the biggest free agents this year in the National Football League. Mike Wallace, wide receiver, who left Pittsburgh to sign with the Miami Dolphins, and of course, Keenan Lewis, who left Pittsburgh and is now a member of the New Orleans Saints. And those guys are only two of many. Truly one of the great high school football programs in our area. And the guy who makes it all work for them, who is their historian, and we are delighted that he is part of our first annual Wow Cafe and Wingery Friday Night Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Al Ragas. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Our next honoree, Isidore Newman School, class of 1994. It's kind of shocking to think that this young man has been out of high school for 20 years. Peyton Manning led the Greenies to a 34-5 record as a starting quarterback. He was named National Player of the Year by Gatorade and the Columbus, Ohio Touchdown Club. At the University of Tennessee, he set then an SEC record for wins with 39. He was the Super Bowl champion with the Indianapolis Colts in 2006 and is the first ever four-time most valuable player in the history of the National Football League. And we are delighted and proud to say that for us, it all started. He was part of our first show. He was a junior at Newman. And I remember telling Peyton at Saints training camp that we were starting a high school football show. And he looked at me kind of quizzically and was wondering how that was all going to work out. And I think it worked out great for him, and it worked out great for us, and we are delighted that he is part of our inaugural Wow Cafe and Wingery Hall of Fame for Friday Night Football. Peyton Manning, Isidore Newman School, to accept for the school is head coach Nelson Stewart. That's what you get for blocking for him, exactly. You get to come and eat, enjoy yourself. You know, it's kind of amazing to me that our next inductee won the Super Bowl here in February. And one of the stories he talked about during the Super Bowl was a punt, pass, and kick competition that he won before the Super Bowl, the Saturday before the Super Bowl when the Packers played the New England Patriots back in January of 1997. There was a ton of good quarterbacks out there, including Cordell Stewart, who was in the NFL at that time. And Ed Reed threw it further than any of them. In a really cold, windy day, coach is nodding his head. He just backed up and threw it about 75 yards. And he was a phenomenal athlete, number 20. He did everything for Destrehan, and then he went on to the University of Miami and had an unbelievable career. He was an all-state selection as a defensive back and kick returner here for Destrehan. At the University of Miami, he was a first-team All-American as a defensive back in consecutive years, 2000, 2001. Also, the Hurricanes were national champions in 2001. As a member of the Baltimore Ravens, Ed Reed voted to the Sporting News NFL Team of the Decade in the 2000s, and of course a member of the 2012 Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl champions. And for us, it all started for him and us on Friday night, and we are delighted to honor Ed Reed with this plaque. And accepting for Ed Reed today is the head coach of the Destrehan Wildcats, Stephen Robichaux. Now, my sidekick here just told me that Archie's on his way. So what we're going to do is we'll take a little break if we can, have a bite to eat, maybe do a few interviews, and then when Archie gets here, if you don't mind, we'll kind of collectively get together real quick and recognize him. But he should be here shortly. But in the meantime, there's a tremendous amount of great food from our friends at WOW here. And again, everyone who is here today, who has given us your time to come here today and be a part of this, we really, really appreciate it, and we hope that we can do this for a long, long time. Thank you very much. Thanks to the Ballard family and all the great people at WOW who have helped put this thing together today, have done a magnificent job, and thank you for being with us today.